Good morning, class. Today I'm going to talk to you about active shooters. Eric Harris and Dylan Kevlin, April 20th, 1999, were students at Columbine High School. Sing-Hu Chao, April 16th, 2007, was a student at Virginia Tech University. These young men all have something in common. Not only were they students, but they were the shooters at their schools. Eric and Dylan combined killed over 13 people, 15 including themselves. And Sing-Hu Chao killed 32 of his fellow classmates. Also, these were two of the worst school massacres in United States history. It is one of the most common events in today's society. At any moment, at a turn of a dial, a deadly killing spree can erupt. It's a family and cops' worst nightmare. For the families, they do not know if their loved ones are still breathing. And for cops, not knowing all the hard facts before entering the building to eliminate the perpetrators. This is just solely based off, right now, of school incidents, but this is going to be an all-around look at active shooters in general. Let's define an active shooter. An active shooter is an armed person who has used deadly physical force on another person and continues to do so while having unrestricted access to additional victims. So what does this mean? Well, they have the freedom of choice in choosing their victims, meaning that anybody in plain sight could potentially be their next. They are there to cause grievous or seriously bodily harm to a person with the intent of initially causing death upon the individual. Who is an active shooter? There is no true way of knowing really who may become one, because at any time, anyone could be an active shooter. It can be anyone of different religion, gender, ethnicity, size, and shape. Are there signs of knowing how to tell if someone is an active shooter? Well, there's always going to be signs of someone who is going to be an active shooter, such as Eric and Dylan, who both played the game Doom and created their own levels, which nowadays, the original Doom actually has a level called Dylan's Level, which was the floor plans of their actual school. And for Sing-Hu Chao, he actually posted bunches of pictures on his Facebook and did blogs about what he was going to do. There's always going to be those little signs that will come about. Just being observant and being aware of your surroundings to someone that looks out of place can point you in that person's direction of potentially being an active shooter. Many different factors can come about of why someone would even think of killing, let alone going on a shooting spree. In Eric and Dylan's case, it was the bullying. In Sing-Hu Chao's case, it was bullying and jealousy towards a girl that he liked. In most cases, and in some, very, very few, it can be abuse. Let's look at the aftermath of when the families grieve, and not only the victims, but the shooters' families themselves. The families of the victims sob over the fact that such a travesty has just occurred. This is normal for any kind of devastating news. But the people that feel the biggest effect of them all is the shooters' families. Not only are they embarrassed, but they are in shock of what their loved ones have just committed. Most shooters come from loving families. Where it went wrong, though, is not always the parents' fault. The type of lifestyle that the person outside the family household is what possibly influenced them. All the families will usually be encountered by heavy media attention, where a formal apology will be conducted, but they will have no knowledge of why their loved ones did what they did. We are all humans, but we will not always have the same mindset, and nor will we ever. So don't be blaming them and pointing fingers at the families. Unless you have probable cause that the families did something or knew something about what was going to unfold, do not blame them. We've talked about who an active shooter is, and we've also talked about the aftermath. But let's just go into how you would prepare for an actual event like this. It's going to be a stressful situation. Your heart's going to be pounding. You're going to acquire tunnel vision likely. Palms are going to start to sweat, and nerves will skyrocket. But one thing you can do is just take a deep breath and calm down. If you are on a higher floor than the first floor, lock the door first and barricade it off with any tables, ladders, chairs, anything that you can find to prevent the shooter from actually getting to you or others. Once you have done that, start looking and treat the wounded. You don't have to be a doctor to know if someone is bleeding out, but use some sort of fabric or some type of gauze in place of the wound and apply pressure. Once you have done that, call police immediately if you have a landline or mobile capabilities. Likely in every building or place you are in, there's going to be some sort of communication device to get a hold of proper authorities. Don't be a hero. This is the number one rule. If you encounter the shooter, don't try to think you're Superman, because you're going to likely lose. It's like bringing a knife to a gunfight. You're just playing with death. Once the police and authorities have arrived on scene and started infiltrating the building, what are your actions as an individual? Well, obey their commands. They are the sole authority. If they tell you to get on the ground or get out of the building, get down on the ground as fast as you can or start hauling butt to the door. If you have been wounded and are trying to get the officer's attention by grabbing them while they are engaged in moving towards the target, just be advised that they will likely push you off and continue towards the sounds of the trigger being pulled. Don't think they don't notice you by you grabbing them. It just slows them down. There will be a recovery team that will come in and assist you after the initial team has moved towards the target. After the incident has occurred, you will be questioned. It's just in case this all has to go to court, especially if the shooter is still alive. They can build a case off of all the evidence and all the witness statements. You may never know who an active shooter is. Never know the motives that drives them to do this sort of chaos. Never know their intended targets. But just being vigilant not only in your workplace, but wherever you may go, if you become involved in one, you have some knowledge and know-how to react, even if you haven't been fully trained in this sort of event. Thank you for listening. Have a blessed day.